Hey everybody, it's Robert C. Stern with The Social Leader, and we are here for another episode of A Conversation Live. And that's the great part. If I muff my words, it is live. So today I have an amazing person. I met her just under a year ago on something they used to call, what was that name? Blab. And she's a New Yorker, but now a Californian. She's just releasing her new only, but now she is officially an author book called Hilda, Tackle Your Inner Naysayer, Get Out of Your Own Way, Unleash Your Badassery. So Jennie, thank you so much for joining me.
Hello, thank you for having me. It says author right there. Looky there, it's very real.
Does that look weird to you? Because now you're officially...
It's so official now. It's like real. There's like an Amazon page and everything that says so. It's very exciting. Thank you. No, seriously. Thank you for having me here. I'm really excited for this invitation.
I mean, we've gone through a lot in the past year. I mean, you moved.
Yeah, it's been kind of crazy.
We did Blab. It went nuts. You've done your coaching on it. We had fun on it. I mean, we even had our one Blab, which we never got to write anything, but I still have the Blab.
Oh, yeah.
of the words that we hate hearing so much already.
I remember that, the buzzword. That was good.
That was a good Blab, actually.
That really was.
So Jennie, for viewers that are jumping on, and we're live and we're just starting and everything, tell them about you. Where you're coaching and you're about transformation, but also about as your book Hilda is. Getting out of your own way and pushing them, out of the comfort zone, getting rid of this stuff. And we're going to get into about the book and everything. But where did you start? I mean,
yeah, no, it's a good question. So I actually started 10 years ago, almost to the date. My first day as the Audacity coach was September 1st, 2006, which is why the book comes out September 1st, 2016. Because I am kind of goofy like that. Anyway, back then I had done everything right. I had followed all of the rules. First one in my family to graduate high school, let alone go to college and graduate school. I was that girl, and I went to college and studied really hard and went on to grad school and became a fancy pants organizational development consultant, and I worked in the federal government. I worked at the Pentagon. I got to wear heels. I wore the suits. I did the things. I was on track to become totally powerful and fabulous. And I hated life. Like how on Sunday night, if you don't like your job, you get that pit in your stomach of another week is ahead. I got that feeling Saturday mornings. It was not pretty. I was over it. And I realized that I didn't know what I wanted. I knew it wasn't this, but I didn't know what I wanted. And there had to be something else. Also, an added part to this story is I had seen coaches come, like executive coaches and learning coaches, and come into the government and work with executives. But all of those people, 10 years ago, if you were a coach, you had already had a complete career, retired, and then became a coach. So when I met these people, I had decided I would become a coach. In my 60s, after I'd had a full career and all of that. Here I was 30 and thought, at 30 years old, can I be a coach? That's kind of a crazy idea. And I finally decided I could, because I could coach people who were going through the same exact problem I was. So that's kind of how we got to launching the Audacity Coach.
Now, what did you go to school for?
I went to undergrad for deaf education and deaf history. So I'm your girl for Helen Keller trivia. And then graduate school, I have a master's in public administration focused in organizational development.
I like the way you even said public administration.
Exactly. I went to American University, and I have my MPA, which is, an MBA for public admin nerds, for civics nerds. And the focus was in org development, facilitation, and things like that.
That is fantastic. My niece actually just graduated Bloomsburg.
Oh, I love Bloom. Mm-hmm.
She went to school for the American Sign Language program.
Oh, cool.
Teach and interpret.
That's very cool. I'm married to a teacher of the deaf. Mm-hmm. We met in college, but I didn't stick with it. She did.
Yeah, no, and it's amazing. She was doing it in high school. That was the interesting part. So I
Very
was
cool.
like, darn, how'd you get into this? But she's really great at it. Sometimes she'll send me a video and sign, and I'm like, great, now I got to go figure it out.
Send it to me. I'll hook you up. I got you.
I'll send it to you for interpretation.
Yeah.
So 10 years ago you started, and you started saying, all right, I want, because I'm watching you over the year. When we first got to meet you, I'm sitting there going, what is she doing? I never heard an Audacity coach. You
Right.
think, so I'm a social media coach, and this one's a nutritional coach, and this one is a business coach. And I'm like, Audacity? So
Yeah.
explain how that came around, because that is like so unique and I love it, but it threw me for a loop.
It's definitely confusing. So first of all, I'm not a Audacity coach. I am the Audacity coach. I want to be very clear. The is even capitalized. I'm very peculiar about these things.
The Facebook, but they dropped it.
Like the Facebook, but I stuck with it. Right. Well, the reason for that is it's Audacity, right? Like that's my tongue-in-cheek way of underlining it and highlighting the word Audacity. Life coach, business coach, executive coach, career coach, all of those titles my clients give to me, right? When they talk about me, oh, that's my business coach, or that's my life coach. And not one of those titles alone is big enough for the work that I do. What I'm all about is helping people get out of their own way and instigate their audacity in a way that opens them up to change the world in their own way. I really believe that people are sitting on just boundless potential, that it's not that they don't know what to do with it. Most of them do know what they want to do with it if they're honest with themselves. It's that they're afraid that they can't get out of their own way to tap into it. So my job and my mission is to instigate audacity in as many humans as possible and then watch the world change. Because every single time you get into your audacity, you say, wait, whoa, I didn't even realize I was standing in the way of that. I didn't even realize I could want that. I've never even tinkered or dreamt of that possibility before. As soon as you unleash that and you decide, okay, I'm going to go for it, the world starts changing. Your small world, maybe a bigger way. And the clients I work with do just extraordinary things. They're constantly surprising me. So that's what Audacity coaching is. And as you can tell, I'm extraordinarily passionate about it. It matters so much to me. And also from the opposite side, as a member of the coaching community, it's very important for you to brand yourselves and be different and stand out. For me, I didn't want to be a coach in a certain life compartment, like a business coach or career coach or health coach or any of those things, because all the humans I work with and all the humans you work with live in every life compartment. So I wanted to work towards a mission. And so for the coaches out there who feel like this is never really fit for me, and I know you're out there because I've met you over and over again in these last 10 years, it's because you're attaching yourself to one life compartment. What if you attach yourself instead and your brand to an ideal? See how that works for you. It's completely worked for me, and it's allowed me to not just build a cute little coaching hobby, because let's face it, that's what it was in the beginning. It was a very, very expensive hobby, until it's a full-fledged coaching practice that helps feed my family and make me live my fabulous life in LA.
From Brooklyn to LA.
Brooklyn to LA. I know, such a cliche, right? Oh gosh, whatever.
No, because it is different. I mean, me being in social media, and I chose to, I could do business coaching, and I do a little bit with my clients, but I focus just on the social media because, I mean, you've watched me. That's what I am so passionate about.
But you have an inexhaustible obsession with staying on top of the cutting edge and bleeding edge of social media, which is why that makes so much sense. And that's exactly where everybody else, I mean, so many of us need more information on social. I'm always coming to you with a social question, right? So that completely makes sense. But notice it's not a life compartment. It's a compartment of business coaching.
Correct.
So it's kind of different from what I was talking about. And you're highly specialized in your work in a world that is completely diverse. So it has that nice balance to it. Exactly. So it keeps it very interesting for you. So obviously I'm not saying that this is the right way. I just know that there are coaches I've met in the past who've been like beating their heads against a wall, trying to make a life compartment fit their coaching practice, and it never has because it doesn't resonate with them as much as a mission does.
So at what point over the past 10 years
Mhm.
did you turn around and said, you know something, I should write a book. It's probably easy. Because we've had our conversations about how easy a book is.
Yes. So it was interesting. I was reminiscing just last night with a handful of people from my Facebook community about how many books I have flirted with and sort of started. I even outlined a couple. It's one of those things, you know, I've wanted to write a book forever. I've always wanted to write a book. But I wanted to write a book on something incredibly positive. Audacity. You know, Audacity is not in the title of my book. You may have noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
That was hard because I want to write a book about the meaning of audacity, and I want to talk about tenacity and confidence, and I want to talk about goal setting. I know, goal setting, your favorite subject, right? No,
Of course.
my most people are like, yay, goal setting, but my circle of friends, my team, the people closest to me, they weren't having it. They were like, you know what? We love your confidence continuum. It's lovely, which is my goal setting thing. It's awesome. But it's not Hilda. It's not nearly as sticky and awesome and almost universally understood as Hilda is once you meet her.
At what point, starting 10 years ago, did you notice Hilda?
Hilda came out. I've been doing my research, kind of digging her back out. She has been around for about 7 years.
And the thing is, I'll be honest with you, because reading even just the part you gave me a little bit, and you know, I got to read some of it. I didn't get to read all of it, but I got to read some of it, and I want to get back to it.
Good.
But Hilda's in us all our lives.
Yes.
We just don't realize it until we try to fix it or do something about it. But that's why I was saying, at what point did Hilda come up in your head going, oh my God, this is part of what I need to do with the Audacity?
Good question. So about 3 years into my practice, I realized that almost every single coaching conversation I had ever had with any client eventually led to a place where we were talking about the inner voice in our head. But it would come up in these very sophisticated ways. I think I'm experiencing imposter syndrome. Or it would be something like, my inner voice is guiding me in a negative direction. You hear the sound of my voice. Like, that is not my coaching style. My style is in your face, in your space. Let's do this cathartic shove. Let's go. And it was really difficult because this was a very serious challenge that was going on in people's brains. And we were treating it with so much seriousness that it was starting to feel psychological, right? It was starting to feel heavy and hard. And the truth of the matter was, I realized it is very important. It is very real, but it also doesn't have to be so freaking heavy. So in a coaching session once, I said, well, let's just name her something ridiculous. And my client says, I have no idea where to start. I'm like, how about Hilda? I don't know where she came from. Beyond that,
like, is there an aunt? Is there a cousin? Is there somebody in Brooklyn that you just despised?
Up to this point in my life, I've never met a Hilda. I have met a Hildy, but I have not met a Hilda. I know after publishing this book, I will. Apologies to people named Hilda. You get to name yours Jennie, just so we're even. But yes, Hilda popped into my brain. She just popped into my brain in that moment. And so I said it, and then I shared it with 4 or 5 other clients. And the response was so immediate, because here's the difference between the heavy way we were dealing with it before. It made it kind of this dark, dirty secret of like, I have this voice in my head. There's something wrong with me. I must be depressed. There must, you know what I mean? It went to that place. Mm-hmm. We name her Hilda. The first thing you do is laugh at yourself. Right? Because it's a ridiculous name. And now that you're laughing at yourself, you're laughing at the messages that this Hilda chick is creating in your brain. And as soon as it has that levity, okay, now we can deal with it. Now we can take the next step.
So basically, your book is kind of a compilation of the past 7 years.
It is. In many ways, it is. It's also been, though, in the last year, highly developed. So for about 6 years, I talked about Hilda individually with people, and we would kind of start figuring out what your Hilda sounds like, what your Hilda says. What are I call them Hilda-isms, right? The messages that Hilda makes are
Hildaisms. We
Hilda-isms.
gotta remember that. Hildaisms.
Right, like what are your Hilda-ism? I hear a Hilda-ism. But what I hadn't done is really kind of figured out, okay, is there a pattern here? So I've spent the last year figuring out what I think are the 4 patterns that Hilda kind of plays into. And I was pretty surprised to find out those even exist. You know, originally when I decided to write this book specifically on Hilda about a year ago, I was planning to basically write a huge encyclopedia of Hilda-isms with no rhyme or reason to them. I didn't realize that they really fell into what I call the 4 BS beliefs that Hilda is trying to get you to buy into, designed specifically to sabotage you.
Interesting. So you start writing the book, and next thing you know, obviously it's a lot more work than you thought it was going to be.
Oh, good gravy.
As
much
we discussed last week with my friend Rachel about that she was just branding books, so that wasn't even the writing. And over the past month and a half, we've had our discussions privately where you're like, oh, I'll be editing today. Okay, I'll leave you alone.
Yeah, it's funny. I uploaded the book, the print version, the paperback version on Friday night. And Saturday morning, I uploaded the book in the Kindle version. Sunday morning, I woke up for the first time not having to edit my book in months. And I wasn't sure what to do with myself. I was like,
oh my God, I could have coffee and a bagel.
This is so crazy. So, yes.
So the premise of the book. So the name is Hilda. The exact wording, the naysayers and the badassery and all that. Give us your narrative of the book.
Sure. So Hilda is the voice inside your head. I call her your inner naysayer if you have to give her a title. Inner critic is too nice because it's not just about critiques. But she's a voice in your head who is on a mission to keep you stuck, to keep you sad, to keep you small, to keep you safe. She's got a really crummy way of going about it. Her way of going about it is to fill your head with really negative thoughts to convince you that you suck. In a nutshell, she wants to make sure you feel as small as humanly possible. Pardon me. Not because she's particularly mean. She's just misguided. Okay, she's mean. She's kind of anyway. But what
say it like it is.
Yeah, exactly. What she's really trying to do is keep you safe, because she does not want you to ever again experience failure. She doesn't want to see you like curled up in the fetal position on your bathroom floor after a big gnarly failure. Have you ever had that? She doesn't want to see that. Now, unfortunately, she also doesn't want to see you succeed. That's the fly in the Metamucil. But that's what she's trying to do. She's trying to make sure that you don't fail and you stay safe and you live by default. You follow the rules. You stay in line. You behave.
So in a nutshell, she's keeping you from taking risks.
She's keeping you from taking risks, and she's terrified of your audacity.
Which can go either way. It could be really, really great, or it could fall on your face.
She is just a bundle of fear that walks around, lives in your head, and fills your head with noise.
So would you call her a realist?
Ooh, that's a good question. It depends on the human, of course. It depends on the human. So that's one of the reasons this book is so interesting to me. This process has been, I thought that Hilda showed up kind of like how she shows up for me. And I quickly learned that she shows up differently for different people based on so many different factors, right? But for some people, she shows up as a realist. She wants you to be practical.
That's where I was going with it, because you don't want to take the risk. And
right, exactly. You've heard this, Hilda, before. I don't know if she resonates in your brain or if she exists in brains of people you've seen, but they're terrified.
There's a lot of people that resonate in my brain. Sometimes I lose count.
Fair enough. But so here's the thing. Depending on it, the risk can be different ways, right? She can be afraid with I shouldn't, Hilda, for example. That's one of the BS beliefs. I shouldn't. She's terrified of you embarrassing yourself. Public failure. Right? So the idea of risk, the very next question she's asking you is like, how's it going to feel when everybody laughs at you? Right? What is your mother going to think of that? What are your classmates going to think of that? Your husband is so tired of listening to you and your big dreams. You should just, no. Very obsessed with what other people are going to think, right? And so is trying desperately to keep you to be acceptable, right? Make sure that you're keeping up appearances, but you're also not pushing any buttons. that you're staying within that box. So that's one way that she can deal with risk. Another one is like, hold the phone. Okay, I don't care what other people think. That's fine. But I don't actually want you to make this risk. You know, and I was dealing with this one very hardcore this month. It's the I don't want to, Hilda. If you cross that finish line, do you know what that's going to mean? A whole host of crap is on the other side of that finish line. So why don't we procrastinate and watch Breaking Bad for the third time? Like, come on. It's so fun.
Not
It's
Game
on
of
Netflix.
Thrones? No.
Right? Or Game of Thrones or whatever it is, whatever your thing is, baby. It could be Grey's Anatomy. I don't care. No judgment. Like she's trying to distract me from that finish line. Because if I cross that finish line, I've crossed the path of the point of no return, and no good can come from that. So depending on how you experience risk, she might hit you with a lot of different things. She might also go backward. Oh, this is horrible. Where she'll be like, you remember that time when you fell on the ice in the 2nd grade and all the little girls laughed at you? What does that have to do with anything? Nothing. But somehow she will remind you of that moment, pull up a documentary footage of it, and you will remember yourself crying in the snow when a bunch of little girls were laughing at you. She's sick.
You know what's interesting with the idea of Hilda and getting into the book more, it's Hilda pops up at the right time all the time. Mm-hmm. to test you. It's almost like Hilda's the teacher and she's going to test you. And with that situation, but I, reading a little bit into it, and I'm just thinking a little bit more Hilda-isms. Mm-hmm. Would you could say that Hilda is not just in your brain, but it's also in sometimes the people around you that are, let's take a typical person says, I'm going to go into Avon, which is in multi-level marketing thing. Okay. And as soon as we hear those keywords, MLM and network marketing, oh, don't do that. That's such a farce. You're going to waste your time. You're not going to make any money. And doesn't that trigger Hilda?
Okay, first of all, I love the like Queen's voice that just came out of you. You sounded like my mother-in-law. I love that. Okay. Yes, IRL Hildas are everywhere in real life. The human Hildas. Here's the thing. Hilda didn't make this crap up. She's been collecting and filing away very carefully every message she's ever heard, both in your life, your friends, your family, on on television and the movies and everything she can get her hands on. If it made you feel bad, she's documenting and keeping away. If it made you feel good, she's burying it, right? But if it made you feel bad, she's going to keep that. Sometimes Hilda, sounds like your mother. Right? Sometimes you're about to do something. My mother's been
gone. I have one Jewish mother. I don't need another.
Right, exactly. Your Hilda may be a Jewish mother. My mom's been gone 20 years, and I still hear that broad's voice in my head as soon as I'm about to do something.
You though.
Right. I can still hear it. And so sometimes Hilda, like her Hilda-isms are those things you heard your mom say, or you heard your grandma say, or your aunt say, or frankly, you heard Sophia Petrillo on the Golden Girls say. It doesn't actually matter, and you'll hear it in that voice. Those are really tough because on top of, especially for those real humans that are part of your life or part of your life in the past, those human Hildas, not only do those Hilda-isms moments hurt, but they come with a side of guilt because now you're not listening and heeding the advice of this person who loves you. But here's why that's so important. I'm glad you brought it up, Robert, is Hilda means well. I know that seems like counterintuitive, but she means well. Just like the Jewish grandmothers of the world, right? As you were mentioning, right? They mean well. They want to keep you safe.
Protected.
And what safe looks like to them is what they understand. Okay? And I'm just talking kind of generically. Your Jewish grandmother, Mary's Jewish grandma was the greatest lady in the world. I mean, she was just so badass. But, it just depends on who you are. But, it's about making sure that you stay safe because they don't want you to experience failure or embarrassment. They don't want to be embarrassed for you. And so they layer these things on, meaning well, not meaning to hurt your feelings, not meaning to hold you back. Unfortunately, your brain can interpret that into something that sabotages your actions.
Yeah, definitely. No. And that's where my mind was going when we were talking about that, kicking a couple of people aside so I could say it, but but it's true. I mean, it's all about, so let's jump.
Okay.
First part of the book is kind of more of what is Hilda.
Mm-hmm.
Second part of the book is more of steps to identify when Hilda is trying to take control.
Correct. So the way I look at it, it's kind of like a meal. The book is like a meal. We have an amuse-bouche, at the very beginning, which
We're
is
on the same wavelength.
right. Exactly. So the amuse-bouche is the preface Hilda wrote to the reader about how she tried to sabotage me. I think it's hysterical. She's a very funny writer. And then the appetizer is, like you said, meet Hilda, and I go into a little self-sabotage 101. But the meat and potatoes, the main course of this book, really is about those Hildaism stories. And they've been pulled from my life, my friends' lives, my coaching clients' lives, and a couple famous lives, as well as there are a few stories that are so universal that I've just written it to the second person you. And so what I've done is in those 4 categories, like I said before, the 4 BS beliefs of Hilda, I've chosen painfully the top 10 Hildaisms under each one. So there are 40 Hildaisms. They're these small short story vignettes, if you will, demonstrating a different Hildaism that really resonated with most of my community. And what you're going to see is you'll read some and be like, I don't resonate with that at all. But oh my gosh, that's my friend Robert. Or I don't resonate with that at all.
I didn't know I was in the book.
No. Everybody's in the book. Everybody except maybe Donald Trump. But yes, everybody's in the book.
I thought he was Hilda. No.
I just don't think he has one. Anyway, I digress. He could use a Hilda.
Well, before you go, what are the 4 areas? Just the
Sure,
title.
good question. Yeah, so they are I can't, I shouldn't, I don't know, and I don't wanna. And really, really briefly, I can't is attacking you from the inside out, convincing you to feel defeated because you suck, there's something wrong about you, you are incapable. I shouldn't is from the outside in. This is where she's worried about what other people think, what other people perceive, what other people are gonna judge you, judgment, right? Then I don't know and I don't want is a little kind of different. It's not so much about yourself, inside or outside, it's more about what it is you want to do. I don't know, Hilda, does not want you to cross the starting line. Do not start. Second guess, overthink, maybe have a false start and retreat, run away. It's too scary to actually take that risk. I don't want to, Hilda. She starts shit all day long. I'll start and start and start, no problem. It's the finish line I'm going to avoid like the plague. So I don't want to, Hilda's convincing you that you don't really want to do that, right? I mean, I know that we started and that was fun, but we're going to stop here and watch Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones. So that's the 4 BS beliefs. And depending on the situation in the project, you may hear from several of them, kind of, like Scrooge has to deal with several of them visiting you. I have seen all 4 Hildas in the development of this book.
I mean, it's interesting because, well, it's interesting, but do you believe, with your experience and everything else now, that people can't identify in a way when Hilda is attacking?
That's the whole point of this book, because I know it's a ridiculous premise. It's a chick named Hilda. I created a cartoon character out of her. I mean, it's ridiculous on purpose, like I said before, but that's the whole point. Until you know that there's some broad named Hilda living in your brain, in at least our world, everything in your brain feels true. Like, really hear that for a minute. You have these thoughts, they're in your brain, they must be true. And so what I want you to do is learn how to, meet Hilda, laugh at yourself, laugh at this whole idea, laugh at me, I'm fine with that. But then recognize, wow, I can attribute this BS thought to Hilda. And as soon as you do that, you're disconnecting, a little sign language for you, you're disconnecting from that thought and attributing it to a cartoon chick that lives in your brain with a ridiculous name. How great is that? Now you're not having that thought. You can come back. You can say, I disagree. And let me point out why that's wrong. And now you have a new thought. because that thought made you feel really crummy, which made sure you sabotage yourself. This thought is like, that's BS. This is what I really think. I feel empowered. Now I can do something positive. That's the entire point. And in these Hilda-isms, I'm going to show you exactly the thought, the feeling, and the action Hilda is trying to put in place so that you can figure out what you would want to replace that with. That's where the empowerment comes in. If you can learn, and it's a practice, right? It's not a one-shot silver bullet pill that tastes like chocolate. Boom, I'm never going to self-sabotage.
My mind was already going saying,
yep,
it's changing a mindset.
yes,
And it's changing a habit.
It's changing a lot of habits, right?
Because you said the process. So I'm right away, I said,
yes,
you have to get into a habit of realizing this is happening, stop for a second, take control again, go kick her out to the curb, and
right,
do what you want to do. But that doesn't change from just reading a book one time, just going to a doctor one time, just doing anything. It becomes, you have to learn to do it as a habit, which is what the book is helping to create. So you can
yes.
refer back to it and say, wait, I remember this from something.
I've read this somewhere. There was a story in there. Yes. I mean, that's the thing is, you know, up until now, I know you're listening to this interview going, gosh, this sounds kind of dark and goofy and weird. But here's the thing. It is a practice where you're going to learn to hear that noise in your brain and say, wait, that's Hilda. That's 50% of the thing, is just recognizing that's not true. That's Hilda. And here's what's really, really powerful. I'm really, okay, I'm going to get a little verklempt here, but I am really, really, really eager to create a Stop Hilda movement with this book. That's what this is the beginning of. Because in my Audacity lab and in my coaching client circles and the small groups that I have, I will watch people have a conversation and notice somebody's Hilda and point it out to them. That sounds like Hilda talking, right? And that awareness of having other people around noticing that. And if you're listening to this, you're going to notice your husbands and wives tonight. You'll be like, ooh, that's what Hilda sounds like for them. Interesting.
Or parents.
Right, or parents. Oh my God, you're going to start noticing what Hilda sounds like for these different people. Raising that awareness is just the first step, but it's a massive leap forward. And now we have a way to deal with it so that you can hit her with a comeback. If Hilda was a real person in your life, I have a feeling you would have a few choice words for what she has to say. Unless you're like me and Hilda's, all kinds of human Hildas reside at your Thanksgiving table. That's a whole nother story.
Oh, great. I'm going to call my mother tonight. How you doing, Hilda?
She means well. She means well. Hi,
Linda,
Mom.
Hilda. It's close. So what is, I mean, there's multiple ways to handle that you learned from the book.
Mm-hmm.
Give me one way that people identify to stop what's going on. Because there's multiple things to do everything. So, and I know you go over different avenues of doing things. What is one of the ways, first of all, to identify that she's there trying to do something?
Most people recognize that they're sabotaging themselves if they ask the question, how am I sabotaging myself right now? Like, you can recognize that you are, right? You can recognize that you want bigger things. So that's one way. The other thing is, Hilda, she doesn't show up when you're going grocery shopping, right? She's not along for you for a ride when you're running errands.
She might show up if you're trying to pick out which candy you want.
She might, but for the most part, the way that she shows up and when she gets really loud is when you're about to do something that matters. If you haven't heard from Hilda lately, you might be sitting on your hands a little too much, right? That might mean you're not putting yourself out there. This is one of the kind of tricky little things about being an Audacity coaching client, is that one of the unfortunate or fortunate, depending on how you look at it, side effects of Audacity is as soon as you experience what it's like to do something that really matters to you, you get excited about figuring out what's next. What's the next thing I want to do? And Robert, I know you're one of these people, right? As soon as something goes really well, you're like, ooh, what's next? What's next? What else could I do? How can I top that?
As soon as something goes really bad, you fall into the dumper.
Exactly. So that what's next thing is what we want to really build on. So depending on where you are, you're going to say, wow, I haven't really heard from Hilda that often. I must not be doing a whole lot that matters. Or I know what I want to do and I know how I'm sabotaging myself. Now let me pay attention to the noise in my head so I can start figuring out, why am I doing that? Like, where's that coming from? Is it an I shouldn't? What am I really worried about? What am I afraid of? And if you're one of those people who is fortunate enough to be saying, what's next? What's next? What's next? That's where you're going to have to battle Hilda in really sophisticated ways, because she's going to get more tricksy. That's the thing about her. As soon as you feel like, I nailed it, I don't care what other people think, I'm feeling good, she's going to hit you with another curveball, and you're going to have to attack her and have a counterattack that's slightly different.
You know, I'm thinking, and you know what happens when I think. The book is about identifying and, in a way, controlling Hilda so that you can live your life to the best audacity and badassery and all that great stuff. But in a sense, we need Hilda.
Yes. Oh, good question.
Can you talk about?
Yes, let me dive
into
into that
today. I'm really hitting the point.
Yeah, you're so on it. So I like to make the joke that Hilda is a tool in every sense of the word. Okay. Not only is she a tool because she's annoying as hell, but she's also a tool in our lives, just like designed to just be that fear factor in our brains. She is the one that fills your head with the thoughts that associate to a specific fear. She's a fear monger, if you will. Right? And fear is the most beautiful tool that the human body could give us. Because as soon as you feel fear, it's a screaming indication that this matters. Right? This matters. Now, unfortunately, we can talk fight or flight about real fears that are very legit. That's not what I'm talking about, people. Those are legit. And we're also very happy that the human body has those. But I'm talking about the fears about something that's big. Your bigness, if you will. You know, when you decide, you know, Robert and I, we no longer experience fear when it comes to live stream media. No.
After my gist on Periscope with what I did, no, I have no problem with fear anymore.
That's not an issue. But there's a lot of people.
Put a pink bra on as a guy, and you know, you don't have any fears for the rest of your life.
Exactly, you're golden. But a lot of other people find online video to be extraordinarily terrifying, right? And it's really scary. Well, Hilda is screaming in your head and giving you all these messages. If you notice them and attribute it to her, you can kind of figure out what's her problem. Oh, wait, you're afraid of success, maybe. Well, okay, nobody's actually afraid of success. What's under that? You're afraid of what success could bring. If you're successful at this, holy crap, people are going to expect you to stay successful. They're going to expect you to top it. They're going to want more. There's a delicious story in the book from Carlo Vergara, where he talks about having a smash, runaway, complete surprise success. And his Hilda was nice and quiet during those days until everybody started asking him, well, what are you going to do next? Right? Well, that was a runaway, surprise, unexpected, unintentional success. How do you follow that up? Right? There's another story about J.J. Abrams and his Hilda, which kind of makes me very amused. I mean, J.J. Abrams, imagine he has just like become the director of Star Wars. And he's walking in for the very first time to screen the very first screening with the 4 top execs at Disney. Imagine how loud Hilda was that day, right? So it's all of these different things. And that's why I wanted to have this great variety in the book, but I also wanted to have enough structure that you feel like you can navigate through the book. And I feel pretty positive that I've navigated those waters pretty well, but you heard a little Hilda in there. She's still worried.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's in some sense, we need Hilda.
We do.
To push us.
Yeah, because once you decide that you're not going to let Hilda lead your life, you're going to lead your life. Then every time you hear her, it's kind of exciting. I hear Hilda today, I'm onto something. You know what I mean? It's kind of exciting. It's kind of empowering. And, you know, there's a lot of people that ask me, well, how do we kill her? I don't want to kill her. I love when she shows up because it really helps me differentiate between something that I'm lukewarm about and something that I'm fired up about.
Yeah, no, that's how I'm looking at it because, I mean, we all go through ups and downs in our lives.
Mhm.
I mean, I've had some ups and downs. Everybody's had ups and downs. And Hilda is more aggressive at certain points of your life. Um, like you said, if you just get to the point that you're so down on yourself, Hilda's kind of taking a vacation because you're not doing anything that's going to help.
Right.
But then when you start to go ahead and start moving again, the Hilda starts to pop up. Now, would you say Hilda is kind of there all the time, but in different ages? So, like you said, Hilda doesn't show up in a supermarket, but if you know you're on a diet and you're staring at the candy,
Fair
and
enough.
Hilda's sitting there going, a small piece in moderation isn't going to hurt you.
Right.
So,
Right.
so it's kind of like there's almost different levels of Hilda too.
She's so sophisticated. There are. I don't buy into the idea that Hilda goes through the same, like, id, super ego, adolescence kind of thing. I haven't gone there because that would be very psychological. I'm not a psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
However, I really do think that she knows what buttons to push, right? She just knows what buttons to push. And Hilda might be louder in certain life compartments than in others. It's really, when you just kind of balance career and health and fitness. That's probably the most popular example in my coaching practice. There's about half the people. Hilda is pretty ineffectual in their career, but incredibly effective in helping them sabotage their health and fitness. And the other half are the exact opposite, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm so good about taking care of my temple, but my career, I'm going to sabotage the heck out of that. So she just goes where she knows she's going to be successful. I fall into the former category, right? Like, I'm great career-wise, but when it comes to taking care of my body, that's one area that I always am sabotaging and struggling with and fighting Hilda on. And it's very interesting. There's also a dichotomy between special and unspecial.
What do
She
you mean?
might try to convince you, Hilda might try to convince you that you are unspecial. There's something wrong with you, Robert, that says you can't do this. I mean, yes, I see that all the other people, all the other boys and girls can handle this, but there's something about you that's just off and you can't do it. Or if that doesn't work, she might try the opposite. You are such a special little snowflake that you defy science. And that's why this diet plan will never work for you. I understand that calories in, calories out, and all that works for every other human body, but we made you special, right? Like, so it can be so demented how she will hit you from whichever angle it will take. And there are examples of both in the book.
That's interesting the way you said it. You are special, you're not special.
Right,
It's
whatever it'll take.
it's kind of like our parenting when we're growing up as kids. Either one parent is turning around saying, "Oh my God, you have the most amazing voice. You're a singer. You're gorgeous." Blah blah blah, and me sitting on the outside going, "They'll never make it on America's Great, Asian team or anything like that. They're good, but they're not that good."
That's hysterical.
But it's true. So I didn't get a chance to read the whole book, obviously.
Mhm.
But is there a part of the book, I was just curious, that talks about Hilda from the outside looking in as the naysayers telling you not to do things, not to take a chance, not to, like somebody goes off and starts their own business. I mean, hello,
Right.
that's when you hear from the outside people, their Hildas coming at you.
Right. We talk quite a bit about that where in the I shouldn't section, that's a very I shouldn't experience, is this concern about you not rocking the boat, not stretching too far, not doing what's unexpected. We also, I touch on a couple kind of sensitive issues, I tell a story of one of my clients who very delightfully was willing to say, she's decided to become a foster parent and she's single. And that's kind of weird and that's not socially acceptable. And there's some pressures there. And interesting how Hilda interprets that and turns it into this craziness in her brain. I also talk about kind of in the opposite one where, I talk about this kind of generically to a bunch of different women who feel like they don't want to be mothers. And the pressure of knowing in your heart, knowing your truth is, I never want to have children. But going through your 20s and 30s with that constant external pressure from real live humans and society in general on questioning and second guessing and tormenting you on whether or not that could actually be true, because there must be something wrong with you if you don't want children or whatever it is. So yeah, we touch on a few, I don't know why I keep saying we, I guess it's me and Hilda is the we, but we touch on a few.
Hilda's here.
Here, she's the one with me. You know, we touch on a few different subjects and try to give those different examples, again, from different life compartments so you can see it through that lens. I find that the storytelling is the easiest way to make her accessible. That's the whole point. Is I think an inner critic, an inner voice, Taming Your Gremlin, all of these other books have done an excellent job of recognizing that this thing, this imposter syndrome, perfect child syndrome, whatever you want to call it, that thing in your head is almost universal experience. But Hilda makes it almost universally relatable. Now we can do something with it. Now we can lighten it up and make fun of it a little bit, make fun of ourselves a little bit. I think laughing at yourself is the best medicine there's possible, and then get on with it and do something that really matters.
Do you ever think, and I don't know if you discussed it in the book or not, Hilda, at certain times, not always, can be a bully?
Yeah, I describe I Can't Hilda as the ultimate bully.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't even get to that part, and I was thinking.
Yeah. So that was one of the things that's kind of interesting, because there's like this polar opposite, lots of polar opposites. I really analyze this from every angle, right? I Can't Hilda as a total bully, and I Don't Want to Hilda as a total enabler. So I can't Hilda, she wants to make you feel as crummy as humanly possible about yourself. And like, I think about that voice in my head who says, who do you think you are? You're too big for your britches. You can't be.
Or you're not good enough.
You're not good enough, right? That's another one of the Hilda-isms. You're not good enough.
So just, I know we talk a lot about business and about, the lifestyle and health and everything, but that particular Hilda, and I'm just going to throw it off course a little bit, because this book could be more than just on the business and on the lifestyle and coaching and stuff, because there are a lot of people out there, and I do mean a lot, that have inside issues, the depressions, all these things, and they're always putting themselves down that they can't do things. And part of it, I'm not saying it's only that, but part of it could be a Hilda telling them you're not good enough.
Right. Now I want to be really clear on
too fat. You don't have a bad voice. You're this. Nobody's going to like you. Because we always read these articles with kids and bullying, and adults get it too. But part of it is also a little bit of Hilda in some sense.
Absolutely. I want to be clear. I'm not a psychologist, and I'm not, all of those things. But I think Hilda fuels a lot of depression. Like she pours gasoline on it. You know what I mean? When it comes to this I can't stuff. There's a story in there called You're Just Not Relationship Material. You're just not relationship material. And then we kind of look at the Hilda-isms for both a single person and for somebody who's coupled up, right? And how those Hilda-isms might even look different and still put you in this mindset of, well, you're not relationship material. There's something about you that means you can never be happy in a relationship. What a horrible, horrible thing to think, right? And that kind of thought, depending on how far you go down that rabbit hole, can lead to horrible depression and self-esteem issues and all of those different things. So absolutely. Obviously, I want to be really clear that I put badassery on the cover of this book for two reasons. One, because it's a cartoon character, and I want to make sure you don't think this is for children. And two, that this book is not designed to be part of the psychological conversation. It's designed to be part of the self-help conversation for people who want to unleash their badassery, for people who want to do bigger things, who feel like the only thing in between there and here is me, and I know it, but I don't know how to get past it. It's
Mhm.
really frustrating. That's who this book is designed for. I hope that it will also be something that the folks that are in a darker place will be able to have as a tool when they're ready to access that information. And I have spoke to a couple psychologists who thought, at the right point, this could be a really helpful tool for some of my clients. And that makes me really happy. But by no means did I seek out to do that. I know I'm overemphasizing this, but there's a reason, because you have to. I want to be really clear. This is not, I say this with love. It's not for broken people or broken down people. This is for somebody who's sabotaging themselves and really wants to rip up their self-sabotage society membership card already.
Yeah, no. It was just thoughts in my head. It was
Just great thoughts. I love that. And I'm excited to see the potential. But as we're getting started, I'm being extraordinarily cautious because I don't want to offend anybody. I know that depression is extraordinarily real. It's chemical. It's a completely different thing than what I'm talking about.
No, definitely. So it's available on Amazon now.
Yeah. So the print book, the paperback book, I'm waiting for the proof. It could come today or tomorrow. So I will hold it in my hands for the first time ever. And then as soon as that is done, and assuming everything is okay, it will be uploaded and ready for pre-order as well. The Kindle version is up for pre-order, and you can get the book, both versions, on September 1st.
Okay, I put the link in the chat with the 22 Social, so for anybody who's watching it afterwards can check it out and click into it. With all this in mind, you're still doing Audacity Lab. You're still doing coaching, because I remember we're working different schedules and like, can't talk, I've got a coaching call, both of us.
Yes.
And I'm up at 1, 2 in the morning writing a blog, and you're proofing it for me.
Yeah, that was pretty
fun. So Audacity Lab, I want to touch it just for a little bit, because that is part of you.
Yes.
I mean, this is kind of where Hilda was born, in the lab.
Yeah, this is where Hilda gained popularity. That's for darn sure. So the lab.
Technically, Hilda is a test tube baby from the lab.
I love that. So let me explain what the lab is. Audacity Lab is an acronym, of course. I'm a coach. We have to use acronyms, alliteration, and allegories. It's a rule. And analogies, all things with A. LAB stands for League of Ambitious Badasses. And it is my Facebook community that is over 3 years old, which I don't know that a whole lot of Facebook communities make it that long. Most people give up already. I'm very proud of that. And the lab is filled with people who, I'm just going to say it, they feel like misfit toys. If you feel like you're probably the most ambitious person in your personal circle of friends, and it'd be nice to kind of hang out with some more ambitious people, that's what the lab was born for. And what's really exciting is it's a experimental place for me to test different coaching ideas. It's forever free. It's a Facebook community. I have rules.
I just realized I wasn't in it.
What the heck? Yes, you should be in it. It's so much fun.
I just requested to join. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm sitting there going, I got like 40 friends in this group.
Yeah, you're gonna know a lot of fabulous people. It's a lot of fun, and it's a place for experimentation. I have some pretty strict ground rules because I want to make it as confidential as possible kind of space for a Facebook group, right? Where we can connect with each other, commiserate with each other every once in a while, but really, most importantly, shove each other forward. Lots of conversations about Hilda happening up in there, and lots of really fun activities. It is my favorite sandbox on the internet, so I would love to have more people.
So is most of your coaching, is it most of it a one-on-one, or is it more group, or?
It varies. The core premium service of my business is one-on-one Audacity coaching, but I also offer group programs at different times of year. I have an Audacity masterclass for people who have graduated from coaching with me and want to work as a small group for 6 months together to build their businesses. But my favorite service, if I may, is called the Cathartic Shove Sesh.
I love it. I love the titles of your stuff.
Thank you. I can't coach as many people as I want to, because there's only so many hours in the day. And when I make if somebody becomes an Audacity coaching client, we basically get married. I am like really, really invested. Yeah, she's our 17 wives and husbands. I'm completely invested in their success, and I'm 100% accessible to them by email and Slack. It's a lot of work. And there's only so many humans I can offer that to at a given time. So the cathartic shove sesh really fits into my mission of instigating audacity in as many humans as possible. So it allows me to offer a 30-minute coaching session with no strings attached. And I have very purposely put it at a price point of $100 so that it's as accessible as humanly possible as well. You fill out a long form. I'm asking a bunch of questions around my business so that when we get on the phone, you're not saying, hi, nice to meet you. We're diving in and I'm starting to shove you forward and getting you out of your own way. And then at the end of that 30 minutes, I send you a workbook and you're on your way. You don't have to hear from me, no sales pitch, none of that happy nonsense, unless we fall in love with each other and then you have to become one of my married people. We can do that too. But it's really meaningful because using this, there are people who have coaches who sometimes just need another voice, but they don't need a whole nother coach. And it allows me to work with a lot of different kinds of people, and I just love it. So cathartic shove sesh, little plug.
No, that's not a problem. No, I mean, it's kind of like what I did with my groups. Not everybody can do one-on-one coaching. If for whatever the reason, whether it's a financial reason, whether it's a time restriction, whether it's they work for a company and it really they don't want to get involved and they need to be more in a group thing. And that's why I set up my groups to help the masses and do stuff right off the group. So
yeah, well, and it's interesting because my group is really about the red carpet of my business. So the lab is the red carpet of my business. It's a way to kick the tires and decide whether or not you can put up with my sassiness. It's a way to meet Hilda, but it's more importantly a way to meet the community. That's usually where people start before they start working with me. And some people are there 2 days, some 2 hours, some 2 years before they decide they're ready for audacity stuff. And I totally get that, and that makes sense. The reason this book is so important to me is up until now, I've been a best kept secret, right?
That was one of your blab quotes, I remember.
Yeah. I mean,
don't keep me a secret.
I'm this thriving coaching practice on this relatively small Facebook group. It's more than enough to provide for me. But here's the problem. My impact is then really small. And I'm not saying that the impact in those individuals is small, because it's not individually. But after having that impact on these folks and my work and Hilda and all of these things having that impact, I'm ready to take it worldwide. And so the book creates this low barrier to entry way to really start the movement.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So how I put in the chat, I got the Audacity Lab link.
Thank you.
I've got the Facebook Hilda the book link.
Yes.
I have the Amazon link.
You're so good. Do you have hildathebook.com?
That was next.
Yes, hildathebook.com. So please go to hildathebook.com. There you're going to see a big splash of me being a little too excited that the book is on pre-sale. It makes me very happy. But you can also go ahead and join the movement. You can give me your email address. I won't do anything smarmy, I promise. So that you can download the handy dandy Hilda cheat sheet, because everybody needs the handy dandy Hilda cheat sheet. But you can also receive all kinds of emails and become part of this movement where we are going to get better at differentiating Hilda's nonsense from your truth.
All right. So before we start to wrap this up, because it's coming on about the hour,
okay,
or the half hour, I should say, give everybody one piece of advice, either about Hilda or to control. I didn't like that word, but I'm going to use it, to control Hilda in your head. What's the
one piece of advice to control Hilda, to shut her up? Is that what you're saying?
Well, either to get past Hilda or to acknowledge Hilda. Basically, you have to do both. First, you have to acknowledge that this is going on, and then you have to turn around and say, Hilda, get out.
Okay, so here's a piece of advice for you. The next time you hear Hilda, write down what she said. Bust out a sticky note and write down what she said. Now, imagine that your best friend just said that to you. What would you say? How would you defend yourself? How would you respond to that message. So for example, Hilda says, who do you think you are? Okay, no judgment, write it down, put it on a sticky note and stare at it. Now imagine your bestie, Matt. Matt says, Jennie, who do you think you are? I'm going to tell Matt exactly the answer to that, right? I'm going to say, Matt, what the hell? I can't believe you're saying this to me. I'm somebody who's worked my butt off. I'm the one that did, you know what I mean? I'm going to have a response to Matt and then say, okay, now that I know what I would say to my best friend if he said that to me, why am I letting my brain say this to me? And hit Hilda with a comeback and write that down. Okay, let me tell you who I am. I'm the woman who earned this. Now keep that sticky note handy, because the next time you hear a, who do you think you are, from Hilda or some human, you're going to say, I'm the woman who earned this. Changes everything. You just got to hit her with the comeback.
I like that.
Good.
You know, it's funny because it reminds me, it's funny because it reminds me of a Cosby Show episode. Where,
how random.
Cosby Show episode where, you know, I hate bringing him up since all the trouble and everything, but he was a great actor in a great show. So, where he says to the kid, I think he said, well, Dad, why are you doing this? You know, it's no big deal. He goes, or something, I don't know, something happened. And he goes, I brought you in this world and I can take you out. Yeah, that's what I'm sitting there going, if Hilda starts up with me, you're inside me. I brought you in here with me. I can take you out too.
Exactly. Send her out to coffee. Just say, you know what? You want to be useful? Eat a bonbon and shut up. Like, give her something to chew on, and then you'll be able to get back.
Save one of those bonbons for me.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I can't thank you enough.
Oh, the thanks comes from me. Thank you so much. It is really exciting to have a conversation about Hilda, and I love your questions and your insightfulness on doing this. So thank you for doing your homework and reading the excerpt I sent you ahead of time.
I didn't even get to read the whole thing, but I got enough.
You will, but nobody gets to read it except for a couple of small.
So are you signing your books, Coach Jennie or Jennie Mustafa-Julock or Hilda?
Oh, good job on my last name, by the way. I'll be signing them Coach Jennie, probably.
I think you should sign it Coach Jennie, parentheses Hilda.
Parentheses Hilda. She also says hi. There you go. I love it.
All right. Well, thank you very much. All the links are there. You can find her on Facebook. You can find her at hildadthebook.com, the Audacity Lab on Facebook itself, too, if you want to kind of get involved and learn what's going on. I want to thank everybody for joining, and if you're watching on the replay, thank you very much, and stay tuned for the next A Conversation Live. Ta-ta.